There's some things that we need to pay attention to. The first one is we have to know the situation. We have to know everything that can possibly go on within a play before the pitch is ever delivered to the plate. To be a quality infielder, you have to get quality repetitions. We do this at practice by taking fungos and taking balls live off the bat. An infielder has to try to create game-like repetitions as often as possible. We can do this by actually making throws to different bases. We can make double play feeds to second base, or we can take balls live off the bat. What we are trying to do is to get into a comfort zone so that when it happens in a game, when we get a ground ball in a game, it'll become an instinctive process. One big mistake that infielders make when they're taking ground balls off a fungo or live ground balls off the BP bat is they don't get themselves into a good power position before they turn and throw the ball into the fungo hitter. This is a big mistake because we are creating the wrong muscle memory. We want to create as lifelike and game-like of muscle memory as possible. So we want to get into a good fielding position and then at the very least get ourselves into a perfect power position to first base before we turn and throw the ball into the fungo hitter. We want to give our players and our children, as they're moving up through the levels of baseball, a fundamental idea of what fielding should look like. And we want to make sure that there's some key components within the fielding mechanics that are taking place to give them the greatest chance of having consistency and thus success. The first ball that you want to concentrate or be able to completely master is the ground ball that's hit right at you. This is the hardest ball to field. Why? Well, anything that's hit right at us, it's very difficult to judge the speed and the hops. So we are going to use a process to try to help us read the baseball better and get some momentum going towards first base to help us be more accurate and take stress off of our elbow and shoulder. We call this process rounding off the ball. The terminology is a V-cut. Now a V-cut is an exaggerated movement of getting off to the right side of the ball and then working back through to first base. The harder the ball is hit, the less my V-cut is going to be. I can't round off and gain a ton of ground on a ball that's hit very sharply at me. However, a ball that doesn't have as much speed, I'm going to have to gain more ground and get a little more momentum on that throw. This first short angle right here, this is a ball that stung to me. I might ever so slightly be able to get off to the side of this ball, and I'm going to have to get on center quick. If I don't, I'm not going to be in a good fielding position. But because the ball is hit so hard, I have time to get some momentum and then make my throw. The second arrow that I've drawn here is a ball that's not hit quite as sharply. I'm able to get off to the side of the ball, and as I do, I'm reading the speed and hops, and I realize it's pretty sharp, so I have to cut back on center and get my momentum going through to first base and make the play. The last set of lines that I have drawn, this is a ball that's a 3-4 hopper right at me that I'm going to have to gain some serious ground on, but yet stay under control, make a routine play, use my momentum, stay dynamic through the ball, and get the out. Before we can ever approach a baseball, we have to go ahead and get ourselves in a position where we're ready to go in any direction. As an infielder, we don't know where the ball is going to be hit. At us, to our sides, behind us, we have no idea. We do know, however, that the vast majority of balls that are hit on the ground, that we have to gain ground in order to make the play and field the ground ball. In order to get myself into a good ready position, I want to have some slight movement forward as I'm picking up the imaginary strike zone of the hitter. I do this by creeping. I can creep left, right, or right, left as I put myself into this ready position. The key when getting into the ready position, however, is I want my eyes as still as possible, and I want to get the weight on the balls of my feet so that I'm in a perfect athletic position, ready to be dynamic and respond to the play. I realize this ball's hit at me. My glove is out front, which it's going to stay out front through the whole fielding process. Once I work off to the side of the ball, I'm reading hops and speed. I'm trying to pick out the perfect hop. A good infielder creates good hops for himself. By speeding up or slowing down to the baseball, we can actually put ourselves in a great position to field the ball. So, the hops that I'm looking for, one is the big hop. And this is where the ball has bounced, it's already reached its peak, and it's heading on the way back down. That is the easiest ground ball to field. The second hop that I'm trying to get, if I can't get the big hop, I want to get the short hop. And because we work so many short hop drills and know how to handle short hops, I'm able to work through that ball, cut it off, and it's a fairly easy hop to field. The one I'm trying to avoid is the in-between hop. This is a ball that is on the way up. It's still going on the way up when it gets to me as a fielder. And that ball will eat you up if you don't have great hands. So when I get off to the side of the baseball, I want to start lowering down gradually as I work into the baseball. I want to come in for a landing, like a plane would, gradually lowering down to the ball, keeping my momentum going through to first base. So, the speed of the ball is going to determine when I have to work back across the baseball to get into that perfect fielding position. There comes a point in time where I may have to chop my steps down because my steps coming into the baseball are going to be right, left, as I come down into this perfect fielding position. The timing of the ball, sometimes as I'm coming in, I may take my first step with my left if I have to gain a little bit more ground over to my glove side. Left, right, left. The important thing is that we put ourselves in a perfect fielding position as we come down to field this ground ball. I'm going to slow down right now and stop to show you these keys you're looking for. But within the fielding process, this is a dynamic movement. My right foot is slightly back from my left. It should be toe to instep, or the middle of my left foot. I've drawn this triangle out front to show us that our glove needs to be out front. That means my butt's got to get down so my hands can work out front. I have to be careful not to lock my front arm. If I lock my front arm, that's going to cause hard hands. I do want my glove out front, but I have to have slight flex in my elbow in order to have some give to the ball. I want my fingertips to the ground, not the back of my glove. The ball is not going to go in my glove. It doesn't have surface area to get in unless my fingertips are to the ground. Another thing you need to pay attention to is that you're just left of center. The glove is on my left arm, which is attached to my left shoulder. The more I get across to the front of my body, the more I handcuff myself. My elbow gets in my gut, and any kind of bad hop is going to be tough to handle. If I want to be dynamic and handle tough hops, I got to be just left of center. If I'm just left of center and I get a bad hop, I can react. Okay? But if I'm in my middle, I'm tied up, and I get tied in between my knees, I also lose sight of the baseball. And if my goal is to keep my head and my eyes still, I'm tracking this ball right here and I do not have to move my head at all. I can see it into my glove. One is a lot of young players will get into a non-athletic position. Their feet close together, they'll be too erect, and they'll field the ball way up underneath them. Encourage them to get their feet outside their shoulders into a better athletic position. The other extreme will also be a problem for a lot of young infielders. They will get so wide when they field a ball that they can't work through in a very sequential movement. They just tend to get locked up in their hips because they are so wide. And if that ball takes a bad hop, they can't react. Now you can see the line coming straight ahead is the angle of the ball. I'm back on center. From here, my momentum wants to continue going towards first base. I want to concentrate on bringing my body to the ball. This is going to help me keep my momentum going towards first base. In essence, we are funneling because as I come through bringing my body to the ball, that's what I've done. But if we use the terminology funneling, a lot of young kids will stop, field, and then try to get their momentum going again to make the throw. So what I'm going to do is I have to get my feet up underneath me as quickly as possible while making a transition from the ball in my glove to my throwing hand. Both your feet are going to be in the air at the same time as we continue to move through to first base. The important thing is that we are quick and efficient with our feet. On the routine play, when I know I have plenty of time, I'm going to allow that right foot to come through a little bit more exaggerated. If my instincts tell me that I need to get rid of that ball quickly, I'm just going to click my heels. That's the terminology we use for just getting our feet up underneath us as quick as possible. I'll demonstrate both of those to you now. Driving the right foot through is right here into a power position. I gain a little bit more momentum and I can get a little bit more on my throw with not much more effort. Clicking the heels is simply replacing your feet into a power position. It's a more efficient, quick process that will allow me to get the ball on the way a little bit faster. What I want to avoid, however, is stepping behind with my right foot. And this is a problem a lot of young infielders have. They'll get into a good fielding position, and then from here, instead of maintaining our momentum to first base, they take this right foot behind. And when they go behind with that right foot, where's their momentum going? Right field or towards second base. Well, we're not throwing to second base, we're throwing to first base. So we want to make sure that we either step in front or click our heels as we come up into this perfect power position. At the same time as I'm moving my feet, I'm going to be turning my thumb over to my shoulder, and I want to make a transition before I get belt high. So as I'm rolling my thumb and coming up, before I get belt high, the ball should be coming out of my hand and up into my power position. When my front foot hits, this ball has to be back at its highest point in the power position because I now have to make my throw. If it's not there, it's going to cause your infielders to have to take unnecessary steps as they get the ball back to make their throw. As I come up into the power position, there's some things you need to pay attention to. There's some keys. The first one is my front side. My front elbow, the side of my hip, they have to be pointed directly towards first base. My back elbow on the backside, it's got to be up and away from first base. The ball has got to be higher than my elbow, and I'm in a good, athletic, dynamic position. My knees are bent, my hips are bent, and I'm ready to explode through with my backside right down the tunnel to first base. From the power position, our goal is to stay inside the tunnel as we move to first base. We're going to rotate our front glove, and now we went from bringing our body to the ball to bringing our body to the glove. As we bring our body to the glove, we move through to first base, we get extension, allow the backside to come through, and we take a couple steps towards our target so that we don't cut ourselves off in the process. And we use all of the momentum that we were able to gain throughout the fielding mechanics. In an effort to increase my range, there's some footwork that I need to use when the ball's hit to my backhand side and to my glove side that'll give me the greatest opportunity to cover as much ground as possible. What I'm talking about here is a crossover step. What we're trying to avoid is a false step. Let me show you the false step first. When I come into a ready position, and now I'm ready to go, and I recognize this ball is hit to my backhand side, if I open up with my right foot first, okay, my ready position is here. If I open up with my right foot first, I've gained approximately 12 inches of ground on my first step. Now, on a crossover step, if I read contact to my backhand side and I cross over, I'm able to get here. As you can see, with my crossover step, I have gained approximately 2.5 feet of distance as opposed to what I gained with my open step. That's helping me be efficient. So not only am I crossing over, but I am determining speed and angle because the ball is off to the side of me. I can cut my crossover step short if I have to start to gain ground in towards the infield grass, or if this is a very hard hit ball that I may have to dive at or field on the outfield grass, I can actually continue that foot over and I can take a backwards angle to the ball. Whatever the case may be, I am gaining more ground and being more efficient with my footwork. The same holds true for balls hit up the middle. The exact same premise applies. I can open, which is a wasted step, or I can cross over and read the angle of the ball, and I can take the appropriate angle based on speed of the baseball. Before we can talk about double play feeds and pivots, we have to talk about a concept of double play depth. Double play depth is where the middle infielders and the corner infielders put themselves in a position to field a ball and give themselves an opportunity to turn a double play. A lot of coaches use the terminology give some to get some. Basically, we're giving some ground as we move closer to the base in order to get some, which is the double play. On a full 90-foot field, 3 in and 3 over, or 3 in and 2 over would constitute a good double play depth. So your shortstop and your second base, when there's a runner on first base and less than 2 outs, are going to take 3 giant steps forward, okay, and 2 over. This is a pretty good double play depth. Now if a ball is hit sharply to my second baseman or to my first baseman, I can get to second base under control, ready to turn the double play. The most fundamental feed that a shortstop will have to make is an underhand flip to second base. What determines whether the ball is a underhand flip feed is based on where the ball is hit. Anything hit at me in normal double play depth or to my left towards the base is going to be an underhand flip feed. Our momentum is going to be naturally going to second base. As we move in to field this ball, as you can see on the line, I am creating some momentum or energy going towards second base. My goal is to time the baseball so that I field the ball in a perfect fielding position. I have to lower down to the ball. You can see the triangle that I've drawn. Okay, we want to get into a perfect fielding position. So what we're going to do is lock our wrist where our arm and our wrist become one. My glove pulls up to my chest and I give it up to my second baseman. I'm going to continue on past second base to finish the feed. Poor mechanics that you typically see in a flip feed is you see people field out front and then they turn and then they bowl. They use a bowling action to deliver the baseball to second. That's not efficient. We want to give the ball up right in front and tuck the glove to our chest. We do not get wristy when we're making a feed. We get wristy, we feed high, we feed low. So that they don't have to see the glove and the hand working together. This is a hide and seek. Second baseman doesn't know where that ball's going. Is to sit in like this and throw a dart. This is going to freeze your second baseman. We're way too close to sit and throw this ball from a rocker feed position. So the only realistic feed we can make from this point is underhand. As I approach this ball, as I'm heading over, I want to come straight to the baseball to get there in the shortest amount of distance. But I want to get myself in a situation to field the ball before it actually gets to me. So I'm going to just reverse my feet. Basically, I'm going to go toe to heel. This is going to allow my hips to clear to second base. If I use typical footwork, I'm going to have to take some extra time to clear my hips, which is going to cost us valuable time turning the double play. So if I can get there with my feet preset, not where I'm waiting on the ball and it's going to eat me up, but just with a good, comfortable amount of time to field the ball out front. There's some keys off the triangle that we've been using and demonstrating all along. The triangle represents a good fielding position, getting the ball out front. When I'm in the rocker feed, basically I want to stay on the plane. What that terminology means is I want to feed the ball to my second baseman at the level at which I field the ball. If I happen to field it high, I'm going to stay up on this plane, like as if there was a glass table around me and I was right through the center of it. If I happen to field the ball on this level or this plane, I stay there. Same thing down here. We never want to field and waste valuable time standing up to make the feed. So, all I'm going to do is I'm going to allow my weight, once I field the ball just off center to my left, to rock to my right hand side, and then I'm going to come through. I don't take any steps. I use my glove side to bring my elbows together to create some torque and throw the dart to the front hand side of the base. I got to learn to use my legs, my hips, and my hands to create some torque and set that ball on the front corner. As a second baseman in double play depth, it's my responsibility to get to second base on time when I'm receiving feeds from my shortstop or third baseman. My goal when I see the ball hit to that side of the infield is to hustle over to second base. If I have time, I'm going to work around almost in a horseshoe or a little fish hook to come into the backside of second base. If the ball is stung or hit harder, my job is to get to the base in a more direct line and to set my right foot on this imaginary line that's created from home plate, the pitcher's mound, the front corner, the back corner, and continues right on to center field. If I can get my right foot on that line, I have a chance to use my proper footwork on my pivot at second base. So as I approach second base, I'm going to widen and chop my steps down and get under control to get my right foot on this back line. I'm going to keep my feet moving because it's always easier to continue momentum as opposed to starting from a dead stop. The goal of my shortstop is to hit the feed right on this front corner, the one closest to home plate. The same goes true for my third baseman. His goal is to put his feeds on this front corner, the one closest to home plate. The base is divided into 4 quadrants. And you notice there's a diagonal right here, closest to first base. First base is in that direction, this quadrant 1. Quadrant 2 is the triangle on the base, Hollywood bases, that faces right field. Quadrant 3 is right here, and it goes towards left field. Quadrant 4 is right here, and it goes towards third base. As I get to second base and get my right foot on this back line, my job is this. As the throw is made, or the feed is made, I'm going to set my left foot on quadrant 2 of the base. Now, if I can keep flex in my knees and in my hips and my glove relaxed out front, I can let the ball come to me. And my goal is to quickly set my foot down on the ground. If I can get my left foot down on the ground close to second base, I've given the base runner the base path to slide into. And I cannot throw the baseball until my front foot hits the ground. So as I receive, my thumbs and hands are working together. When the ball hits my glove, I am just going to set my foot down. Of course, my foot will open as I turn. And I am going to release this ball as quickly as possible. That is the simplest of the double play pivots from second base. From the very earliest ages in which we start to turn double plays from second base, that is the first one that needs to be taught. The first feed that I make is an underhand flip feed to second base. As I'm moving in, I want to use my momentum to get into a perfect fielding position. So I read the ball hit up the middle. I am circling in to the baseball to put myself in this perfect triangle that we talk about. From here, my goal is to give the ball up as quickly as possible. I want to show the ball to my shortstop, and I want to be sure. I got to make sure that I make a good feed. And I'm going to put it on the corner of the base closest to me. From here, I rotate my wrist out, and as I go to deliver the ball in front of my body, I pull the glove up, I feed and accelerate using my leg strength. I give the ball up, and I follow behind the base. I want to keep my momentum going in the direction of the feed. is we do not want to turn and deliver the ball from the side. That is bowling. We don't want to bowl. Two, we don't want to get wristy. Wristy flips, they roll on the ground, they go over the shortstop's head, they can be a lot of trouble. And we definitely don't want to freeze our shortstop by coming up and delivering the ball overhand when we're so close. We're just going to lay the ball up so the shortstop can accelerate across and make the turn. I have a responsibility to make sure that I get to the base on time so that I can handle good feeds as well as poor feeds made by my second baseman or first baseman. So my number one goal when I recognize the ball is hit to my second baseman or first baseman is I am hustling over to the base. When I get about 10 feet from the base, I'm going to chop my steps down and widen so that I can get myself under control, but I'm keeping my momentum. I'm also going to give a target to whoever's making the feed to me. This will let them know where I want the baseball. I want to be careful not to reach out for feeds, whether they're from second or from first. If I lock my arms out, it's going to be that much longer for me to make a transition to throw. And I'm trying to be quick. So we want to be relaxed out front. Too close to my body, not good. Too far away from my body, not good. Just a relaxed position with the elbows. Of course, my throwing hand is tied to my thumbs, okay? My thumbs and my throwing hand are tied together. Wherever my glove goes, my throwing hand goes with it. This is going to help me make my transitions quicker. The goal of your second baseman is to make feeds over this back corner of the base, the one that's on the first base side but closest to right field. That's going to allow me to work off the back side of the base and keep my momentum going to first base and stay out of the baseline of the base runner who's sliding into second. So my goal is to chop my steps down, and I'm going to get myself into a position when I read the ball that's released from my second baseman's hand. I'm going to let it travel, and then I'm going to step to the ball with a short jab of my foot and my left glove together. They work together, and then I'm going to drag my right foot along the back side of the base so I can right myself into a perfect power position. Now I've been able to transfer my energy that's moving somewhat to second base and redirect it towards first base to help me be more accurate on my throw. My goal is to quickly get my feet underneath me and snap my wrists, bringing my elbows together to make an accurate throw to first base. As with any type of drill, whether it's hitting or fielding, drills are meant to isolate a weakness that your fielder may have. I'm going to introduce to you a number of drills and try to explain what they're focusing on so that we can help improve certain aspects of fielding mechanics. Teaching fundamental fielding mechanics is no different than teaching fundamental hitting mechanics. We first want to take the element of a moving baseball out of the equation. The fielding mechanics drill is simply a drill where we break the fielding process down into parts to make sure that our young players have comprehended the different parts of the fielding process. If you work on this process on a regular basis with your infielders, young infielders, 9 and 10-year-olds, certainly 11 and 12-year-olds and up, they're going to master the fielding process much quicker than if you just randomly go out there and hit fungos to them. The first element of the drill is to have your players get around the baseball and come down to the baseball in a perfect fielding position. They ought to be able to get to this position without having to adjust the baseball. So as I work off to the side of the ball, I'm going to come down and I should be able to put myself into my perfect triangle and freeze. Freeze in a perfect fielding position. Boom. Okay? Pop it back. The second phase of the drill, once they can put themselves in a perfect fielding position, is to get them into that position very quickly and then up and freeze in a power position. So they would come in off to the side, put the ball in their glove. Don't let them forget about perfect fielding position. Oftentimes when we start to go into the power position, they'll forget about good mechanics on the fielding position. So just simply come through, field, power, and have them freeze in a perfect power position. Field, power. Yeah. The third phase of the drill is to go from a perfect fielding position to a perfect power position and freeze on a perfect throwing position. Again, don't let them sacrifice perfect fielding mechanics in an attempt to be quick into their power and throw position. So the drill simply is moving off to the side of the ball, field, power, throw, freeze. Field, power, throw, boom. Good. The last phase of the drill is to tie in the following element or the momentum element of the throw once the ball is gone. So we command our players to get into a good ready position, creep, ready, command them to field, power, throw, follow. Field, power, throw, follow. Good. Once we've tied all four components together, at that point we can start to implement the same drill with a rolling ball. Just be sure that the coach or the player that's feeding the person doing the drill is putting the ball directly on their fielding triangle or coming directly at them, rolling the ball slow but yet fast enough that it's going to reach the person they're working with. We don't want to be so quick that the infielder who's learning the fielding process cannot concentrate on his footwork. What we're trying to do is isolate ourselves into a good fielding position to learn to cut off hops. Now, when executing this drill, it's good to have your feeder up on his feet, throwing short hops to the person who's executing the drill. Some keys: one, we have to have our fingers relaxed and our hands relaxed. We want to be out front with slight bend, and our goal is to let the ball come to the fielding zone. So if I get in a good relaxed fielding position, the top of my triangle is there, okay? I then want to draw about 5 inches out front, an area in which my hand's going to work as I get extension through the hop. So the feeder throws the short hop, I let the ball come into the fielding zone, and I cut the hop off. I do not want to get wristy. I don't want to be flipping at the ball. I want to let it come and catch the ball right where the fingers meet the palm. That's the pocket of the glove, and that's what we want to work on with the hand. Once we can do this on short hops right at us, we want to introduce this drill from the backhand side. Now, as we rotate ourselves over to the backhand side, the key is is we got to get our back flat. We got to stick our nose down in this short hop. Notice my back foot is pivoted, okay? So I'm in a good athletic position. Be careful about infielders getting their feet real close together. You want your feet back and your back heel up, which will allow my back to get flat. I need to open my hand and I want to draw a runway, basically with my pointer finger and my thumb directly towards my target. And my goal here is to take my front elbow and keep it relaxed. I don't want to lock my arm out as I try to field this ball. Okay, so I'm going to let the ball come to the fielding zone. I want to work right off my front toe, and I'm going to cut this hop off, keeping my wrist and fingers to the ground as long as possible to give me margin for error as I work through this short hop. Glove side short hop should be the easiest short hop there is. So we're basically just going to shift our weight off to our left side, drop our glove down to our side. Our partner is throwing us a short hop, and we're simply going to cut the hop off with our bare hand. Make sure that you stay low. Whether you're doing right at you, backhand, or glove side, you do not want to field the ball too early in the fielding process. If I rush out to the ball before it gets to me, then I'm locked and I'm going to have hard hands. The 3-step, 5-step drill is basically going to emphasize a good crossover step and hustling to work in front of the baseball to get into a good fielding position. The feeder on the drill is going to be on his knee on the infield grass. He's going to be rolling out onto the clay. We always start to the glove side of the person executing the drill. You want to be about 15, 20 feet away max. We're going to roll the ball on the ground, glove side. The fielder has a responsibility, and when he sees that feeder draw back to roll the ball, he's going to hustle over on a crossover step, and his goal is to read the speed of the ball to get in front of the ball. The further the ball away is and the faster it's going, the deeper my angle has to be to get in front. If at all possible, I want to get in front of the baseball, receive it, and pop it back to my partner without shuffling my feet, just using my upper body and hips. Then I sit tight and I wait for that feeder to roll to my backhand side. Once he draws back, I cross over and again read the speed of the ball and the angle to work in front of the baseball if at all possible. I want to make sure I'm getting my hands out and my butt down. As soon as I field the ball, I pop on back to my feeder. If by chance I have to field to the backhand side, I field, pop, and stay underneath me. A big mistake in this drill is young guys will throw the ball back to their partner, they'll stay on the plane, and then they'll start taking off immediately in this direction before their feeders had a chance to roll the ball. Another big problem with this drill when it's not executed correctly is people will shuffle their feet. They'll field and then they'll come up like here to throw back to their partner. We want to learn to work in this position because as middle infielders, we make a lot of double play feeds from that stance. The fly ball drill. As an infielder, we rarely get to spend a lot of time taking pop-ups in practice. However, pop-ups can be the difference between winning and losing. especially balls for a second baseman that are back behind first base, or a shortstop that has to go back in behind third, or your first and third baseman that have to go back and field a ball up against the fence on a pop fly. How often have you seen those balls dropped and the next pitch the guy hits a home run? Well, part of the reason for those errors is we don't spend time working on it. So the fly ball drill is very easy to execute. The feeder stands on the infield grass right next to the clay. He gets himself squared up to the person he's feeding. When the feeder rotates his shoulders, that's when the player executing the drill is going to take an open step to the side that the ball is going to be thrown. So we're going to predetermine what side the ball is going to be thrown. We always start with our glove side. The feeder, he's going to turn his shoulders to throw. The fielder opens up at a pretty steep angle, reads the ball thrown into the air. Now my feeder has to challenge me. He might throw some real high that never get off the back edge of the clay. He might throw some real high that are 15, 20 feet into the outfield grass. And he might throw some that I have to dive after. But my goal, if at all possible, is to get behind that ball, work back through to the infield, and be prepared to make a throw if there's somebody on base. So if the ball is being thrown to my glove side, I'm going to open up, I'm going to take off, reading the ball in the air. I want to run soft on my feet to keep the illusion from the ball bouncing. Run soft, work behind the baseball, turn, and work back through it and end up in a power position. Now, once we execute some to the glove side, we got to go to the throwing side. Playing the outfield is not necessarily an extremely difficult skill for a good athlete, but there are particular things that all good outfielders can do better than others. One of those is getting a good jump on the baseball. The other is learning how to take good angles to get good momentum going in the direction of their throw. Another quality of a solid outfielder is good throwing mechanics and knowing how and where to throw the baseball to keep base runners from gaining an advantage and getting extra bases. Use BP, batting practice, to take pride in becoming the best outfielder that you can possibly become. Instead of just lollygagging or softly jogging after fly balls and catching the ball any old way you possibly get to it, focus on doing things correctly on every fly ball. This way the skill transfers over to the game. Make sure your players are getting into a good ready position, that they're creeping in. Teach them to get their feet outside their shoulders, their knees bent, and their hands forward. Having a quality drop step is extremely important to being able to go to balls back over my glove side or my throwing side. When I recognize a ball is being hit over my glove side, I want to make sure that I get a good open step to clear my hips. And then I want to cross over to gain ground, and I'm going to hustle, and I want to get behind the spot of the baseball early where I can get myself turned. As an outfielder, as I come into my ready position, if I recognize balls are just hit on the ground or in the air, off to my left or in front to my left, off to my right or in front to my right, I do not have to open step or drop step on those particular balls. That is going to be wasted motion, and it's going to affect my timing and my route to the baseball. From experience, I should begin to recognize balls off the bat and where they're going. If I can recognize that this ball is not going to be hit deep but straight to my side, I am simply going to crossover step to get to the spot where I can work back through the baseball as quickly as possible. Same thing goes to my right. If we run hard on our feet, my eyes are going up and down. And when my eyes go up and down, it gives the appearance or the illusion that the baseball is jumping in the air. So talk to your young players about running smoothly, running on the balls of their feet so their head can stay still as they're moving to the ball, and that will allow the ball to stay true in their sight as they move through to catch it. And I'm going to hustle, and I want to get behind the spot of the baseball early where I can get myself turned. This is a dynamic movement. We don't want to stop, catch, then get our momentum going again. We want to move through the baseball using our leg strength to generate energy as our body is linked together through the throwing process to make an accurate throw to our base. It's very important that I catch the ball just left of center of my face. This way I can make a quick transition on my crow hop. If I make the mistake of catching the ball way off to my glove side, I now have to come all the way back across my body to throw, and I'm a little bit too rotational, and it's going to affect my accuracy on my throw. Most outfielders do a much better job catching to their glove side as opposed to their backhand side. A cue that you can use to help them with the backhand side is when they take off and they pick up the baseball in the air, tell them to point their glove side elbow at the ball. This is going to help them open their glove correctly to the backhand side. It is very important that when a ball is hit straight back over our head that we open up to our glove side. So any ball that's hit over my head, I have to take a drop step at a deeper angle than the ball. So if the ball is coming in the air on a straight line over my head, I have to open up at a steeper angle than the ball. This way I can work behind and read the ball in the air, and I have a chance to get turned if I can and catch the ball in front of me, or I can catch the ball over my shoulder and I can keep sight of the ball much easier. If I don't get a good drop step and I cut myself short on my angle, now this ball straight back over my head is going to become one of these basket catches, and it's very difficult to maintain sight of the ball and perspective when you're running and looking back over your shoulder trying to catch a ball on the full run. There's going to be times as an outfielder where we make a bad read. We might think that the ball is hit to our glove side. However, wind, rotation of ball off of the bat, whatever the case may be, we get opened and we realize that we have made a bad read, that this ball is actually headed back in the other direction as opposed to our glove side. There's two ways in which we can respond and redirect our route to catch this baseball. If it is a routine fly ball that we have plenty of time on, we can go ahead and keep our head to the front side and just simply turn our feet inward, keeping our body towards the infield, and just redirect over and make the catch. So I open up incorrectly to this side, and I realize that this ball, if I don't get turned quickly, I'm not going to make the catch. In this particular instance, it would not be beneficial to try to turn inward. This is a slow movement, and I cannot gain a lot of ground, and I'm going to tie my feet up. We're going to have to take our eyes off the baseball for a split second and turn our back to the infield. But in doing so, we can quickly reroute and pick up the baseball and have a better chance of gaining ground and actually making this catch. So it would look like this. I open up, I'm taking off, and I'm thinking, uh-oh, I have a misread. I quickly want to snap my head, and my head controls my whole body. So I just quickly spin my head, boom, back to this side. And as I do so, it just pulls my whole body through. Now I pick the baseball up again, and I can make this deep catch successfully. There's two main ways we can approach a ground ball hit to the outfield. If there's a routine ground ball that gets through the infield that's coming pretty much directly to me, whether I'm the left fielder, center fielder, or right fielder, my job is to simply come in aggressively, cut down the distance, stay under control, lower down, get into a good fielding position, make sure I see the ball into my glove, and I can stop. I don't have to stay dynamic here. I just want to make sure I field the ball cleanly, get my body turned, and come up and hit the cutoff man. There's no danger here of the base runner taking an extra base if I'm clean in fielding the ball. The second type of ground ball is a ball that's hit off to my left, off to my right, where I know this is going to be a very difficult play, and if I don't hustle over there and take a good angle, this base runner might turn a single into a double. Or if there's a runner on first and I'm lazy, he's got a real good chance of getting an extra base, possibly two extra bases. So I want to be sure on a ball that's hit on the ground off to the sides, whether it's a clean base hit or a possible double or triple, that I am taking an open step, that I am hustling over to the baseball, getting behind it, creating an angle back through it. I want to come in, field the ball right in front of my left foot, staying low. I have to see the ball in the glove. I can't make a throw if I don't field the ball. I want to see the ball in the glove, and I want to take my crow hop, get my body turned into a good power position, and make an accurate throw to the cutoff man. There are two ways in which I could release a baseball, whether I field it on the ground or in the air, to get rid of the baseball to throw to my base. As I work over to the baseball, get behind, this ball's moving, I meet it, I come into field. There are two ways that I can get rid of this baseball. If I am looking to be as quick and as efficient as possible, I'm going to take my right foot, quickly slide it underneath in the direction of my throw, which will get me into a power position quickly and allow me to be a little more efficient getting rid of this ball. I will, however, not have as much on the throw as I would if I use my second type of crow hop. When we're using the step behind crow hop, we have to be careful of not maintaining our direction. So as I'm bringing this back foot through, if I don't take it directly towards my target, I can actually take my energy away from the throw, cause me to be a little bit more rotational, and affect my accuracy and strength of throw. So we have to be careful as we field the ball of stepping away from our target. We want to make sure that we come directly into our target as we use the step behind crow hop. The second type of crow hop, if I get down into my fielding position again, is simply where I take my back leg and I drive it with energy and force towards my target, getting my back foot turned, and I get into a power position. I can be more dynamic and transfer more energy through the throw using this type of crow hop. Regardless of which crow hop you're using, when we're hitting our cutoff man, we have a responsibility as an outfielder. We want to give our infielder something that's easy to handle. We don't want to be throwing the ball at his feet that's going to eat him up. We certainly don't want to be throwing the ball over his head. Infielders should be turned and giving us a target. When they give us a target, it's my goal as an outfielder to throw to my infielder's glove side, belt to chest high. If I can give him a firm throw, belt to chest high, glove side, that's going to allow him to get turned and keep his momentum, and we'll make an accurate relay and have a chance to throw a runner out. However, if I don't take pride in hitting my cutoff man and I throw to his throwing side, I can force that infielder to have to field the ball on the wrong side of his body. He may have to come over here and field this ball backhanded coming in from the outfield, and now he's going to have to try to turn glove side to make his throw, and he's going to get all tied up, and he's not going to be able to stay efficient with his footwork. It's going to slow down his throw and his momentum, and we probably just lost our opportunity of throwing this base runner out. We always want to use the terminology creep, ready position, drop step. Take your angle to the ball, get turned and catch the ball with two hands, and then get our shoulders square to throw the ball back into the infield. An advanced skill is learning when it's appropriate to turn our back to the infield to throw the ball on a ball that's been hit off to our side on a deep angle. If I'm a right-handed thrower and I'm going to my left, and I recognize this ball's hit in the air or on the ground, and I'm running and I catch this ball almost at full speed, it is going to be easier for me to take the energy of the baseball and just turn my back to my target, step through and make a throw than it would be to try to catch the ball on the run, spin all the way around, and try to regain my energy going to my base. An advanced outfielder, when he's working back towards the fence, is going to have skills to allow them to play these balls successfully. One thing that helps outfielders is fields that have warning tracks. Warning tracks aren't just on a field to make it look pretty, they serve a purpose. And a good outfielder can tell the difference in texture between the grass and the sand of a warning track. And when they're going back, they realize how many steps they have before they make contact with the fence. When do they figure this out? Before the game. A good outfielder is going to go out to the warning track and he's going to run. And he's going to see how many steps does it take before he makes contact with the wall. This can be the difference between a catch and extra base hit if the outfielder doesn't play it correctly. Balls that are hit up high in the air and that are coming down to the wall, an outfielder may have a chance to get over and possibly save a home run or make a very difficult catch against the fence. They want to use their glove on their glove side and their hand on their backhand side to feel for the fence without having to peek back at the fence. Anytime we take our eyes off the ball, we are at risk for losing it and missing it. I am not against the fence right now. I'm not anywhere near the fence, but let's just simulate. If I get into a ready position and I recognize that this ball is hit and I take off, I'm on a full sprint, I hit warning track, I'm going to start to feel for the fence. Once I feel for it and I see the baseball, if it's falling short of the fence, I can turn and come back to it, make the catch, and have my momentum going to my cutoff man. But if this ball is coming down and I got a chance to save a home run by knowing I'm up against the fence, now I can time the catch, get up, and possibly bring it back. A big mistake outfielders make when playing balls against the fence is they won't feel for the fence. They won't know exactly where they are and they'll jump back. And they'll actually jump into the fence, which inhibits their ability to jump up and possibly pull back a home run. Playing balls against the fence is a very advanced skill. Again, as with most aspects of outfield play, we have to simulate all of these plays in our drills. Do or die ground ball. Anytime I have to make a play in which I am trying to throw to home and the game is on the line, if we get them, we win. If they score, they win. I'm going to come through this ball with every bit of energy I have. I don't have to worry about hitting my cutoff man. So I want to field this ball right in front of my left foot, and as quickly as possible, I want to drive through into my crow hop, making a transition, extend, and allow my backside to come through. You sometimes will even see outfielders fall down as they make this throw because they are a kinetic energy chain. They are coming up and using the energy through their legs and hips and torso out through their shoulder in the baseball, and they want to make sure that they keep everything going in the direction of the throw, and they get such extension that sometimes they'll fall forward. We don't have time here to be real precise with our steps. We have to get in a position to get rid of the ball as quickly as possible. The tree drill is a simple drill that allows players to work on angles and getting behind the baseball. It can be done with a rolled baseball by the coach or a thrown baseball by the coach. The reason why we call it a tree drill is when the drill is set up correctly and completely, you're going to have a number of cones off the base of the tree. The cone I am standing on, which is the starting cone, if I were to turn around, I have all my different branches out behind me set at different angles. This is going to allow me to work on all different types of fly balls and ground balls. To do the drill correctly, you're going to have a coach out in front of whatever cone we're working on for that particular angle. That coach is going to be on a knee or standing, and they're going to tell the player which cone they're working on. For instance, let's work on this first cone right here, which would be a simple angle to my glove side. The coach has the baseball, and he's going to instruct me to creep, and I'm going to straddle the middle cone. From here, I'm going to drop step, and about the time that I drop step, he's going to roll a ground ball out directly in front of this cone. My job is to get behind the cone, to come back through the ball, field it, get a crow hop, and throw the ball to my coach who has a glove on. Of course, we could do the same thing with a fly ball. Let's use this cone, for example, in the tree drill. The coach would come out in front about 20 yards. He'd have the baseball in his glove. As he tells me to go, I creep, I open step, I'm watching the ball, which he turns and holds in his hand. This forces me to continue to look at the baseball. Out of my peripheral vision, I see this cone, and about the time I'm at the cone, he's going to throw a fly ball that he's trying to get to land right on the front side of this cone. I need to get around the ball, get my feet moving, catch the ball with my right foot back so that I can drive through efficiently into my crow hop. Be creative with the tree drill. Once your players master the skills of ground balls and fly balls to all the different angles, they're going to need to get repetition. They're going to have to continually work on these skills, and you can reference the tree drill when players are taking fly balls in BP, batting practice, or in the game. Encourage them to work behind the ball just like they did in the tree drill, and that'll give them verbal cues to understand what you're talking about with getting behind the ball and working back through to your target. Fly ball pattern drills are outfielders' favorite drills. What you're going to do here is you're simply going to set up different patterns that the outfielders need to run, and they're going to work on catching the ball on the full sprint. This is going to force them to work on the skill of running softly on their feet and catching balls off to their glove side and to the backhand side. We have two cones, and you basically just set those cones up. You have the player flip you the baseball. They take off running to the next cone, and they can angle off to the right, they can keep going straight, they can angle off to the left, whatever the case may be. We're acting like a quarterback. They flip us the ball as the coach, and we just turn, and when they take off on an angle, we just lead them. Sometimes we throw the ball real high, where they can actually get behind it and work back through it. Sometimes we put a little more speed and less angle on the ball, so they have to catch the ball on the run. Your better athletes will be able to dive on this drill. But you have to be careful, because at the young ages, if they don't know how to dive, they can hurt themselves from the impact of landing on the ground. As your players get better at the drill, you want to extend the distance that they are running the patterns. For not only will they be working on their ability to catch the ball on the run, but it also functions as a conditioning drill as well. It's a great drill to take your team through at the end, as opposed to just running sprints. Extend those patterns out a very long distance and let them get lots of reps, and it'll work on their conditioning. We can introduce the tennis racket drill to implement some difficult fly balls without the fear of injury to the receivers. Using a simple wiffle ball and an old tennis racket, we can turn and we can hit varying fly balls to our outfielders. We can hit routine fly balls, or we can hit balls well off to their backside or straight over their head, and you can allow young players to use their glove, or older guys, encourage them to try to catch the ball barehanded. Another additive difficulty is going to be the wind. A lot of outfielders don't do a good job adjusting to the wind or paying attention to the wind before the game. Outfielders need to know where the sun is. They need to know what direction the wind is blowing, for that is going to impact the direction of the baseball. So by hitting a wiffle ball up into the wind, they have to redirect themselves to catch. The player that is up is going to creep into a ready position, center over the cone. The coach will be out in front about 10 to 15 feet, and they are simply going to turn and hit a fly ball. The head snap recovery drill is a drill where we intentionally have our outfielders open up to the wrong side and then recover. We have two cones. We're going to have our outfielders creep into a ready position over the first cone. Instruct them to open up, say, to their glove side. So we're going to go first to our glove side, so we're going back on a deep angle. The coach is going to hold the ball up so that I keep my head on the ball. And as soon as he releases back over this side, I'm going to head snap, redirect, and catch the ball on the run. If I have time, of course, I'll set my feet and work back through. The drill can be done on any varying of angles, but basically all we're going to do is just work to both sides, recovering on a ball hit to my glove side, and then taking me back over to my throwing side, and then vice versa. Opening up to my throwing side, and then recovering back over to the glove side. The outfielder that's up is going to creep into a ready position centered over the cone. When the coach turns his shoulders, we're going to open to the instructed side. Coach is going to tell him it's going to be a ball at the fence to your glove side. So as he turns, the player turns to open. He's going to run over to the fence. The coach lets the ball go up. I'm going to feel for the fence. Once I find it, if the ball falls short of the fence, I'm going to come back through and get into a power position using my crow hop. If the ball is hit to the fence or thrown to the fence, I'm going to time it. I know exactly where I am, so I'm not going to jump back into it. I want to meet the ball at the highest point, catch it, come back down, and get ready to give the ball up to my cutoff man. Of course, this drill is going to be done to both sides, not just to the glove side. My coach would then tell me we are going to the throwing side. So I'm going to creep to the center of the cone. As he turns, I open. As the ball is launched, I track. I get on the warning track if the field has one. If it doesn't matter. If I have to, I can slightly peek back for the fence, but I got to be careful because I'm going to lose sight of it. I really want to get to a point where I can do this drill without having to look for the fence. I feel for the fence, find out where I am. If I can come back to it, great. If not, if it's at the fence, I time my jump, go up, bring the ball back over, and make my throw. For a safety precaution, if you're using chain link fences, be careful because cleats can get caught up in the fence, and sometimes the tops of chain link fences are very rough and sharp. And if people rub up against those fences or they bring their arm on top and over, they can end up with cuts. So you need to be very careful as to what type of fence you're using for the find the fence drill. What I want to do simply is I want to take my glove hand and I want to put it right to the side and open it up right here. This keeps anybody from the third base dugout or the third base coach's box from being able to see the sign that I'm giving. The second objective when giving a sign is I want to make sure that I tuck my finger deep inside my crotch so that my team is the only one that can see the pitch. As we get older, not only will we give the sign, but we'll give location. So we may give fastball, and we might point to the inside, okay? Fastball inside, fastball outside. You can also use a pinky for, say, a pickoff move to first base. We can use the thumb for a pitch out. It's up to the coach and the players as to what each individual fingers are going to mean, but that is predetermined for each individual team. Our primary stance, or initial stance, is what we have when no runners are on base. We don't have to be nearly as concerned about blocking baseballs because there's no runners that can advance. We want to get our feet wider than shoulder width apart. We want to go ahead and let our knees relax, get our weight on the inside part of our feet. From here, we're going to sink our behind down and we are going to relax. And what we want to do is give a good target. We want to clear our glove side elbow from our shin guard, and we want to be nice and relaxed in receiving the pitch. When I'm in my primary stance or relaxed receiving stance, I want to make sure that I protect my throwing hand. The last thing I want to do is take a foul ball off my bare hand or my throwing hand. So as I'm in my primary receiving stance, I want to make sure that my throwing hand is tucked in behind my right foot where no foul ball should be able to reach it. And this way it stays protected. But once there's a runner on base, my focus changes. I know there's an opportunity for that base runner to try to steal a base. Therefore, I have to put myself in a little bit better position to possibly throw the baseball without giving up the look of the umpire to see whether it's a ball or a strike. In my secondary stance, I'm going to widen my feet, but instead of having my feet square, I'm going to stagger them slightly. Because most catchers are right-handed, we're going to have our right foot toe to instep of our left foot. This just slightly presets my hips and is going to give me a little bit better opportunity to be quick with my feet and allow me to have a quick release to second base or third base wherever I'm going to throw the baseball. As I get into my stance to receive, a secondary stance, I'm going to raise up just a little bit and I'm going to keep my target down, but I'm in a position now where I can explode forward to set my feet to throw. Not only do I have to get my feet staggered and raise up just slightly, but I have to get my throwing hand in a position to make a quick transition. So the difference between my primary stance, where I kept my throwing hand back behind my right foot to protect it, now I want to bring it out and make it into a fist, and I want to set it gently behind the glove. It's not touching the glove, it's just gently behind the glove so it's protected. As I raise up and I stagger my feet, my throwing hand is right behind, right here, and now I'm ready. If that base runner takes off, I can be quick and make a quick transition. A big problem with young catchers is that they are intimidated by the bat that is being swung by the hitter. They don't want to be hit, and that's understandable. There's a point in which we can get too far back away from the plate, and this is going to allow baseballs that were once in the strike zone to start to fade out, and I'm going to receive them out of the strike zone. An umpire may call them a ball. We all know that strikes and balls are determined once the ball crosses the plate. However, there are times when umpires don't get a good look at the pitch and they will see how you catch it to determine whether they're going to call a ball or a strike. If we are too far back out of the zone, we are allowing that pitch to continue to move, and it might take itself out of the strike zone. We might catch it out of the strike zone when it was once a strike and now it's called a ball. How we determine a good distance away from the hitter is we want to be able to reach out and come close to touching the back leg of the batter. I have a hitter in the batter's box. He's in his spot to hit. My goal is to make sure that I'm a good distance away where I can almost touch his back knee. Once I get used to this positioning, I'm going to be more comfortable and I'm not actually going to have to reach out and touch. But I should be close enough where I felt like if I did reach out, that I could touch. If I'm going to change my setup to the inner third part of the plate for a right-hander, all I want to do is simply take a little shuffle over with my left foot about 6 inches, and the same with my right, and I want to center up the inside part of the plate. The same thing goes for an outer third pitch to a right-hander. As the pitcher is getting set and I give him my sign, I'm going to go ahead and set up 6 inches, 4 to 6 inches, just readjust to the outer third part of the plate, square up, sink in, and give him that good target. If there is no runner in scoring position, that would be a runner on second or a runner on third, and there's a ground ball hit to the infield. A catcher has a responsibility of taking an angle behind first base where this ball might be overthrown. He's going to head over there and get in a position to back up. It is not our job as catchers when receiving to try to make obvious balls look like strikes. Umpires are smart and they have integrity and they are trying their best to call a good game. So let's not insult them by taking balls that are obvious balls and try to pull them back into the strike zone to make them look like strikes. We can, however, take borderline pitches and receive them in such a way to give the umpire a good look at it. And a catcher that receives the ball correctly can sometimes get those borderline calls for their team. Receiving is an art. My job as a catcher is to make sure that the ball does not creep out of the strike zone because either I'm too far back away from the plate or I let the ball travel to me too much in my attempt to catch it. If I set up down the middle and the pitcher throws the ball right to my glove down the middle, there is no reason in the world that I have to try to do anything special for this pitch. I just bring it straight into my body. It's an obvious strike. I don't have to go out and stick it, okay? Just pull it on in, give the umpire his look, and throw the ball back. I want to make sure that on baseballs that are borderline strikes, ones that are coming across the outer part of the plate, say 3 inches to the inside part of the plate or 3 inches to the outside part of the plate, these are baseballs that I have to work very hard to make it look like this ball was a strike the whole time without insulting the integrity of the umpire. My job, once I get in my comfortable position, let's say there's no runners on right here, so I'm sitting in my primary stance, nice and relaxed. I give a good target to my pitcher. I have the advantage. I know the pitch that's supposed to be coming, whether a fastball, whether a changeup. Therefore, I've called for the location in the pitch, and I'm anticipating the ball being thrown where I've asked it. So I'm set in, and I'm ready to receive. From here, as the ball is traveling to the strike zone, I recognize it's exactly where I wanted it. I'm going to let it come to the receiving zone, and I'm going to go out there and meet it, and I'm going to catch the outside corner of the ball, and I'm going to keep that ball from creeping out of the strike zone. I receive the ball out here, stick it for a quick second, and then I stand up and throw the ball back to the pitcher. If I am set up for an inner third strike to a right-hander, and I get a ball on the outer third part of the plate, I have to let my momentum slightly lean into the pitch, and I want to get around the outside corner right here and stick. I want to let that ball come to the receiving zone, catch the outside corner, and stick. I do not want to let the ball dominate my glove. Any ball that dominates my glove and that brings my glove back is going to make it look like I'm taking the ball out of the strike zone, and as you can see, this looks like a strike because it is. I catch that same ball there and bring it here, and now all of a sudden it looks like a ball to the umpire. The most difficult ball to receive that's a strike and to continue to make it look like a strike is the ball at the bottom of the strike zone. If we turn our glove where our glove is to the sky, open to the sky, this looks like a ball to the umpire. It might be knee high to the hitter, which should be a strike. But anytime as a catcher I turn my glove over here, it gives the illusion that that ball is too low, and he's going to call it a ball 9 times out of 10. What I want to do here is, if I'm in my primary stance again as an example, I want to go ahead and I want to work thumb up underneath and just keep that ball in the zone, catch it right here. You can see that ball looks like a strike, but as soon as I do this, it appears to be lower. It's the same height, but it looks like a ball to the umpire. The last ball that we really need to learn how to receive and stick, or frame, if you want to call it that, is the high strike. And here too, we do not want to go to the ball and carry it up. We want to get over the top corner of the ball and keep it right here in the zone. As the ball comes in, I get the top corner right here. That looks like a strike because it is a strike. But if I take the glove up and allow my glove to carry the momentum of the ball up, that's going to appear to be a ball to the umpire, and I might not get the borderline strike that I'm looking for. When I receive a baseball, I want to have a relaxed elbow and a relaxed wrist, especially balls down the middle. We don't want to lock our wrists or get tight wrists or tight elbows. We want to have a fluidness in what we're doing behind the dish. So with a runner on base, I'm in my secondary stance. My right foot is back from my left, my butt is slightly up, my throwing hand is behind the glove. From here, my knees follow my glove. So as my glove goes down and turns to block right in front of me, my throwing hand comes right behind and I fall forward. I fill the 5-hole right here. I got forward lean, and my goal is to catch the ball with my chest protector. This forward lean cuts down the angles and doesn't allow the ball to eat me up. I want to dominate it. And as it comes up and it hits my chest protector, it should stay somewhere out in front of my body. And if I am quick to my feet, I can react and get to this baseball in a position to throw. The biggest challenge in blocking is not balls that are right at us, but balls that are to our side. We have to have cat-like reflexes to get out and get around the baseball, as I'm going to show you in a second, to cut the angle of the ball off and keep it out in front of us. My job here is I want to lead with my glove. As I lead with my glove, my left knee is going to drive down and out as I push off my right foot to get momentum in that direction. So as my glove leads outside, my right knee is following my glove, pushing with my right foot to get momentum, and I scoot around to cut off the angle of this ball. From here, I have forward lean, and I'm looking to block this ball back on center. If I make the mistake of getting to the outside but not getting my body turned, now this ball has an angle to kick. It still has the potential to kick off to the side. And even though I've worked hard to get there, I still have not effectively blocked the ball. The same thing goes for balls in the left-handed batter's box or off the plate to the outside for a right-hander. As I go to drive my glove down, I'm not looking to go out with my glove. I'm not trying to catch it with my glove. I'm trying to catch it with my chest protector. So my glove is going to lead out to the side. I'm pushing with my left foot, and I am driving that right knee out. I have an angle right here that I am trying to take my right knee on to create that angle. So my glove is leading in that direction. I'm pushing with my left foot, and I am taking my knee out using my momentum, and I got forward lean to keep that ball right out front. I fill that 5-hole, and I have successfully executed a block of a very tough pitch to keep it back to the middle. Catchers have to be very careful with their throwing hand. It has to become instinctive to get it behind, completely behind their glove. If that thumb is laying out or they keep it in front, they are looking to break their fingers. Young catchers, in an attempt to block a baseball, will sometimes jump up into the air on their way to come down to block. This creates a huge vacancy or hole for the ball to get past us to the backstop. Be sure to encourage them to take those knees directly down to the clay. The knees go directly down to the clay and they fill the middle. Another thing you're going to have to pay close attention to and get them to understand is that they do not want to be straight up and down. This decreases the angle that we have to smother the baseball, and it gives it a lot more room to get past us. My number one job when I receive the ball and I recognize the base runner is on his way, let's say to second base, is I want to stay low as I make my transition and get my feet turned. This all happens at the same time. It's not a mechanical machine where we catch, we make our transition, then we turn our feet and throw. Obviously, that's too slow. It's all got to take place at the same time. But let's break down the elements one by one. When I receive the baseball, my job is to get my thumb turned to my right shoulder as quickly as possible. My throwing hand is also going to be nearby, and it quickly comes into the glove and gets into a four-seam grip if at all possible. Because if I don't make an efficient, accurate transition from glove to hand, I don't have a chance to throw. As my front shoulder is turning, I am gaining a little bit of momentum forward and getting myself into a good power position, ready to throw. I am just trying to get my feet underneath me as quickly as possible, gaining just a little bit of ground, which will help my momentum and help me stay dynamic as I make my throw to second base. We tie the whole process together with explosive leg movement. If I have good, strong legs and quick feet, I can very quickly get myself into a throwing position without standing straight up or without going too far forward. Once I receive the ball and I very quickly get myself into a throwing position, boom, I want you to pay attention to some things here. I don't have time to have a big long arm arc. I am looking to get that ball right up near my ear. My back elbow is going to dominate the process as I stay dynamic in my throw. It's going to create more whip and allow me to get rid of the ball very quickly with some velocity behind it. You'll notice as I make my transition, my elbow leads in the process as I get the ball right to my ear. My back elbow is up and the ball is higher than my back elbow. From here, as I rotate through, I'm going to be able to create some dynamic whip with the ball as I throw to get it on its way very quickly. Encourage your catchers to get the ball on its way. If they try to run the ball to second base in an attempt to throw it there with more power, they are slowing down the process significantly. A baseball is so much faster than a human being, and our goal is to get that thing on its way, even if we have to throw a long hop to second base. Many catchers make a big mistake when throwing to second base. They feel like they have to throw the ball all the way in the air. And if the arm strength is not there to throw the ball on a line, what they do is they throw a rainbow down to second base. We all know that the quickest distance between 2 points is a straight line. Well, I challenge catchers, if they can't throw the ball all the way in the air, to throw a long hop in place of it to second base. The hardest thing for a middle infielder to be able to do when putting on a tag is pick an in-between hop. And catchers that are insistent upon trying to throw the ball all the way to second when they are not capable of doing so on a line, 9 times out of 10 are going to give that in-between hop to the middle infielder and it eats him up and the base runner is safe. Well, if our objective is to throw the base runner out, if we throw a straight line that lands 20 feet from the base, that way the middle infielder can receive a good long hop, he can make a good tag, and that ball is going to be a whole lot quicker getting there than the one that's rainbowed in to second base. When there's runners on base, we have to be extremely efficient in attacking the pass ball so we can keep runners from only getting one base and not getting two. If there's a runner on third, we may have an opportunity to retrieve the baseball and make a throw to the plate and get the base runner who's trying to score. And there's a technique to receiving this particular type of pass ball. The pitcher is attacking the plate to be there to cover the plate, is going to be pointing in the direction of the ball. The ball has gotten by me. I want to quickly bounce to my feet and I want to attack the ball aggressively, getting off to the side of the baseball. I'm going to slide in. I'm going to end up with both knees on the ground. I come in right next to the ball and I snap to the front part of the plate. Some catchers, not understanding how to use their body most efficiently, will come in with their back to the plate, pick the ball up, Now they have to stand up, turn, and this is very intimidating to the person covering the plate because I'm going to have a hard time maintaining a soft touch but yet be quick from this position. So whether I'm in my primary stance or in my secondary stance, I react to the ball that's bunted out front. I am going to attack, and as I'm attacking, this particular ball is down the first base line. I'm going to be letting my first baseman know inside, 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 for this is where I want to make my throw. So I'm going to be heading over, and as I do, I'm lowering down and I'm getting my body to the side of the baseball. I want to come in with both my hands together to retrieve this ball. Now I have a choice. If I've had to go a long distance, I'm probably not going to have time to take a shuffle. I just want to push off my right foot, step and throw. If I was able to retrieve this bunt very quickly or I have a slow base runner, I can come into the side, field this ball, and I can take one shuffle into my power position and throw a strike to the inside, clearing the base runner. If I recognize that this ball is out in front, it's been bunted out in front of the plate, and it's my ball, as I attack it, I'm going to let the pitcher know, mine, mine, mine. I'm going to clear and get around this ball. It pays to get around it so I don't have to take unnecessary steps in order to throw. If I just come straight to it, now I got to get my body turned and take all this extra time to try to get into a throwing position to deliver the throw to first base. If I can stay low and get off to the side of the ball, I'll be in a position to throw. Balls that are bunted down the third base line give us a little bit more of a challenge as a catcher. The most efficient way to field this bunt is to turn my back to the first baseman in order to get a little more momentum and to be a little bit quicker to make an accurate throw. When we teach this type of fielding technique on balls down the third base line to our catchers, we have to make sure that we practice this. For a young catcher who doesn't have much body control, they can end up launching this ball out down the right field line, and now you've opened the floodgates for the offensive team. But what we want to teach here is we are going to attack. We want to get around the outside of the ball. So as I come to the inside, I am going to be lowering down. I'm going to sink my hips around the baseball here, and I'm going to pick this ball up almost in a position where I can get into an efficient power position and throw. Right-handed hitters are going to foul the ball off in this direction. Left-handed hitters are going to foul the ball off in this direction. So if I have a right-handed hitter and I recognize that this ball is fouled, I'm instinctively going to open up to this side. That is crucial as the first element of finding a baseball and being efficient in getting to it. So when I'm in my stance, whether primary or secondary, and the ball is fouled off, the first thing that I want to do is I want to get my mask off as I come to the front of the plate. I recognize that a baseball has backspin. And when the ball goes up behind the plate, it is going to go out and up, and then it's actually going to circle back to me. It's going to circle back towards the infield. And all pop-ups don't always go backwards. Sometimes they're right on top of the plate, or they end up slightly in front of the plate. There's going to be certain pop-ups that I realize have different direction. The one that goes up with very little angle, I know I definitely have to get out in front of the plate. But a ball that goes up with backwards angle, it may not be necessary for me to take those steps out in front and then go to it. I might could turn right where I'm at and find the ball, because some fields are going to have a lot of distance that I got to cover in order to catch this pop-up, where other fields are going to have very close backstops. So let's use the example of a ball that, say, is a little bit more directly up over my head, and I got to make sure that I get turned. When I recognize the ball is hit up, I am coming up clearing my mask and trying to pick the baseball up. I am going to come to the front, get turned, and recognize the angle and spin. I have to be very careful not to overrun this pop-up. I know from experience that this ball is coming back to me. So once I get turned and I know I can safely attack this baseball, I have to just toss my helmet out of the way so it's clear. I don't want to have to deal with it anymore. I'm going to start moving to the baseball with two hands, and I want to catch the ball right in front of my face as I move through it because the ball is coming back to me. Quickly set my feet, get turned into a power position so I can address any base runner and what he might be trying to do on the base paths. We can set them up without a glove and simply just kneel in front of the plate about 10 feet in front, and we just simply want to throw balls underhanded and just have them work on receiving position. They're just going to catch the tennis balls where you throw them, and you may want to repeat the process. Don't mix it up to start with. If you're going to work on balls across the body, let them lean into the ball and receive the out corner of the ball over and over and over again. Then work on your inside and your low and your high. Once they get that down, then you can mix it up. And when they're comfortable with a tennis ball, then you can start actually feeding them an actual baseball so they can get the feel of dominating the ball a little bit more. The next drill is the block and recover drill. We can use two baseballs, one in the left-handed batter's box, one in the right-handed batter's box. And if we want to introduce three baseballs, we can have one directly behind the plate. The coach is going to point at one of the baseballs, and what I want to do here is I'm going to hustle over. I'm doing this in slow motion. Let's say it's this ball. I'm going to hustle over, driving the knee down, pushing off my left foot, following my glove. I get on out into this blocking position and quickly come directly to my feet, out in front, field the ball into a power position. They can have gear or they can be without gear if you're going to use wiffle balls or tennis balls. And we want to teach them simply what it feels like to follow their knees in their glove straight down to the ground, getting their hand behind. We can set them in this position and just have them lean right there and just kind of have them try to catch the ball with their chest protector. Tell them their glove is right here. And that's what we're catching the ball with. Once we can establish that, then we can create some movement, going from our primary stance or our secondary stance into our blocking position, going straight down. So now we've created movement straight. Once we've established that we can block the ball directly at us, it comes time to get a little bit more complicated and add in a new element, and that's moving off to our sides. A drill we can use is we can set a ball in the middle of the left-handed batter's box, a ball right behind the plate, and a ball in a right-handed hitter's batter's box. From here, you put your catcher up into his receiving stance. The coach is out front, and he simply, when he says go, he's going to point at one of those balls with one of the three. And my job as the catcher is to respond as quickly as possible. When the coach points, if he points out at this one, I drive the knee down, following the glove, get outside, and I want to try to avoid pushing on my glove to get back up into a catching position. I want to use my leg strength to bounce right back up and be ready to go for the next ball. And we do a series of about 4 or 5 blocks. This will increase your catcher's speed and leg quickness and really help them in the blocking process. Here a coach is out front. He's simply going to roll the ball off to my glove side or my throwing side. As a catcher, I quickly turn, hustle after it, slide in as we taught in the mechanics section, and throw to the pitcher who's covering the plate. Another effective but simple drill to work on bunting is just set 2 balls out in front of the plate. One slightly towards the first base side, one towards the third base side, and if you want to add in a third ball, put it right in front of the plate. The coach is going to point to the ball that I have to field. I'm going to come, get into my perfect receiving position off to the side of the ball, and make a throw to first base. If a first baseman is not available, I just want to work on getting into a good power position to first base, and I freeze. Another element to this drill is adding the pitcher-catcher communication. So a ball that's rolled a little further out, the pitcher might take over and call me off, field the bunt, and make the throw. A ball that's a little bit shorter, I call the pitcher off, I field the ball, and make the throw, or power up to first base if there's no first baseman. A couple drills that you can use as a coach to introduce pop-up mechanics to your catchers is to get a tennis racket and a wiffle ball, stand in front of the plate, turn your racket so it's open face to the sky. You want to toss the wiffle ball, try to slice through it as you hit the ball up. This is going to create that backspin. And as the ball goes up, your catcher can work on turning, finding the ball, and coming back to it without fear of injury from missing the ball. The next drill you can implement is you can possibly use a pitching machine of some type that can throw backspin, set it up at the plate, and throw pop-ups to your catcher. The most advanced way to hit pop-ups to the catcher, and the most realistic, other than an actual game experience, is to hit fungos up to your catchers, varying the heights and varying the angles at which you hit it behind the plate.